Hey everyone, this is Heidi St. John. Welcome to the Heidi St. John podcast. I'm really glad that you guys are here, and you're gonna be so excited today because one of my favorite people in the whole world, and by far and away the most requested guest that we have here at the show, is in the studio with me. My friend Dr. Mark Sherwood is joining me live and in person here at Firmly Planted Family. We're going to spend the next hour just having some fun together and talking about politics, the state of health in the United States. And I think we want to encourage you today to just bring you into the conversation. And I hope it encourages you and blesses you. I know that it will. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Thank you guys. I know you guys are busy, and I know you've got lots of other podcasts that are calling your name. Thank you for taking some time to listen to this one today. I'm really excited today to announce that my friend Dr. Mark Sherwood and the Functional Medicine Institute have become the major sponsor here at the Heidi St. John podcast. We've been talking with Dr. Mark and Dr. Michelle now for a long time, and we've been, talking, as you guys know, if you listen to the show, then we're talking about hydrogen water. We're talking about all kinds of things. And I love the ministry that Dr. Mark and Dr. Michelle bring to medicine. And that's really what it is. We're really, really pleased that they're coming alongside. And with that, I'm just so pleased that you're here. Thank you for coming.
Oh, my gosh.
All the way from Oklahoma.
All the way from snowy Oklahoma, we're here. So we're excited.
Rainy Washington.
I know, but it's okay.
From the snow to the rain.
We get the opportunity to be here with you, so we're blessed.
So excited. It's really fun to see you in person. We've done a million shows. Yeah. Remotely
a lot
over the years. And I thought it'd be fun. There's lots of new listeners to the show. I thought it'd be fun to sort of take them on a little journey through Dr. Mark Sherwood land. And you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about how we met. But you have a really interesting story. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I've had a lot of hats I've worn in my day, I suppose. But, kind of to be kind of brief in the synopsis. So I was adopted as a kid, and a lot of times people look at that as a negative, but I looked at it as a positive because I was chosen, right? Yeah. And even though it was challenging, and my wife's adopted too, so a match made in heaven right there,
Yes.
But growing up, it wasn't easy. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have, the silver spoon in your hand, anything like that at all. It was challenging. So my dad worked hard, and my mom was a housewife and did really a good job of raising me well. I think giving me some good values to work hard and and just figure it out. Right. Yeah. So growing up, though,
and this is in Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma, yeah. Okay. I grew up in eastern Oklahoma in a place called Berry Hill. Okay. And it was a little tiny place.
Nothing to do with Barack Obama?
Nope, nothing to do with Barack Obama or his wife. I don't know none about that.
Oh, shots fired.
I know, just a little bit of a, But, it was good. Growing up was fun. Small town America is great, and so everybody knew everybody. I never could get away with anything because somebody would snitch me off in the neighborhood,
As it should be.
Yeah, I appreciated it,
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, I appreciated it, but then I was like, no, man, get out of my business, get out of my life.
Yeah.
But I had a dream going as a little kid, because everybody wants to be something. My dream was to be a professional baseball player. And I haven't told this story one day. This is pretty funny. So one day I was in elementary school, and I think I was probably fourth grade, and the teacher, said, how many of you have dreams and goals? And of course, as a little kid, your hand goes up, right? And I thought that was cool, but I didn't think she'd call on me. She called on me. I'm like, oh no. I said, the first thing that came to my mind, I want to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
That was it. And of course, everybody laughed at me because there's a problem with saying you want to be a professional baseball player. You have to be good. That's one thing. And so I wasn't the best baseball player on my team, right? And so she encouraged me that day with something, and it turned out to be a really cool benchmark moment in my life. She said, I want you to write down on a piece of paper what you want to become. And I could barely print then, so I did. I printed it. I will become a professional baseball player. And I tore it out of a piece of paper. It's back when we had pencils, right? So it was written in pencil on paper. And she
Number
said,
2 pencil.
It was. And she said, carry that with you all of your days until it becomes true. Okay, right. So I did. I'm one of those guys, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I carried that thing with me, Heidi, and I got my driver's license eventually later on and was playing high school baseball player. I put it behind my driver's license, right? And I carried it and carried it and carried it. and carried it some more. And I got into college and finally was able to get a scholarship after walking on and working hard. And then I kind of forgot about it until I was sitting in the dugout, on the side of the field in the country of Australia playing professional baseball player.
Okay.
No, I go over
You're
there.
like, hey, I remember this.
And I went over there and I thought, I wonder if it's still there. And I looked through my wallet and stuff and I couldn't find it. But then I had my old driver's license because it was expired by then. Flipped it over. Sure enough, that now yellow piece of paper was stuck right there. And I peeled it off and it said, I will become a professional baseball player. So I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh.
Awesome.
And so, I got all choked up because I thought, now I've got to go out and play now. How do I do that? Right. But that was a cool time. And I knew at that point.
How old were you then?
I was 22 at that point.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years. I was just going to
Time
say, I
flies,
was going to guess 7, but 10. I mean, we can go that far.
Yeah, exactly. Benjamin Buttons over again, right? But, the growing up, though, after that, after my career ended with that, I went and joined the police department in Tulsa. Where I was over 2 decades of that, and 10 years on the SWAT team, and which was great, fun, exciting, and dangerous as heck,
No kidding.
But you see a lot of stuff in that.
Well, and I think, I had Pastor Phil, I think I told you in my studio the other day, and he also was on the SWAT team in Kansas City.
Yep.
And he said, he was saying he would, when he thought about his time there, it just really, he said, I can't help but just see there's so many parallels. A lot of things that the Lord wanted me to learn about ministry that I couldn't have learned any other way. And I learned it, on the SWAT team. But you did something called the Power Team, too.
I did.
And I want to say, I think I told you, I think that's the first time I ever saw you.
On the Power Team.
I think you were on this. So you got to tell everybody about the Power Team a little bit, because I was actually talking about you, dude, in the car the other day.
Yeah.
I don't know who I was talking to, but I was bragging on you. And I was saying, dude, my friend, Mark Sherwood, I'm telling you what, I think I might have been like in high school. And you guys would go to churches, right?
Yeah, we
and
were
you gave
at
the gospel
everywhere.
that way, and you were like breaking phone books and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. When was that?
So I joined the Power Team in the late 90s, mid-90s actually, and was on the team up until the early 2000s. And I was on it for a total of 12 years. And so
I did see, I bet you came to Northern Washington.
Oh, I've been in Northern Washington.
So I was
a lot.
way out of high school by then.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in high school. So I take it back. But I think I saw you because my husband was a pastor at one of the churches that the Power Team came to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I was the guy that wore the headband that said Power on it. So.
Yeah. Oh, my word.
The token little bodybuilder
I bet
of the group.
if I dug through the archives, I could find a
You
picture
can find
of us
it.
from a long time
For
ago.
sure.
That is so crazy.
You should find that. That'd be
So you guys went around the country and you were sharing the gospel.
Yep.
Right, by basically doing these stunts that, really strong and like power builders. I mean, it was kind of an amazing thing.
It was dangerous too.
Yeah.
I broke bones and
Did you
tore
really?
muscles and got burned. We used to light bricks and the whole stage on fire, and a lot of times people didn't know.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, it seemed like
know,
a good
man.
idea at the time.
Yeah, let's try it and see what happens. Go for it, Mark.
Go for it, Mark.
If you come out alive, we'll do it again. That kind of that stuff. But it was challenging, but it was also rewarding.
Yeah.
I realized at that moment in time, even though the stunts were crazy, we'd run through big old stacks of ice and concrete, and used to break things with my head. And
Why? Okay, so why? Why would you break things with your head?
well, I think there's a combination of
that's
things.
a good question.
Yeah, I think probably ego got into it a little bit. Truly, because you want to be the strongest person out there. You want to perform well.
Well, and all these guys are really strong. So
Yeah, and you
I would
get
imagine
this.
there's a little competition
Totally,
between like all the
100%.
guys.
Yeah, 100%. We don't try to outdo the other person, and behind the scenes, I bet you can't, that kind of stuff. But it was about using what you had where you were to get somebody's attention. Mm-hmm. I learned a powerful lesson. If you get somebody's attention, you can get their heart. Mm-hmm. So even like on a podcast, if you say something that hooks them in, their heart becomes open.
Yeah.
So their ears have to open before their heart opens, which is kind of a crazy truth,
Yeah.
But I saw some amazing things. And wherever we went, whatever we did, I learned that the gift of evangelism is real. Mm-hmm. And I've said it before, I could sing Mary Had a Little Lamb and people would give their life to the Lord. I can't sing very well, but they would. But that gift is real, and that's one of the most special ministries that I've ever been a part of, and as far as the evangelistic outreach of that. And we were all over the world. I've been on every continent, and we were on TV 3 or 4 times a week on TBN. It was a good time.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It's so crazy. And then it was after that you went into police work.
It was during the same time.
Because if you figure you're just breaking your head
Breaking
on
my
television,
head.
you might as well go break your body in real life. And
You'll go point guns at people and try to arrest them. I mean, what a great, exciting life, right?
wow.
Yeah.
And now you're a doctor.
Yes.
For goodness sake. So how'd you go? I think it's interesting. I've talked to hundreds of people and interviewed lots and lots of people over my life. And I think the phenomenon that we're seeing in the culture right now is actually true, that people tend to switch careers. And there's a part of me that thinks it's kind of freeing, for this generation to say, just because you're doing something right now doesn't mean that in 10 years or 5 years or 15 years you'll be doing the same thing. And if the Lord leads you a different direction, be willing to go. Yeah,
I was stationed at the police academy in my last probably 8 or 9 years as a police officer.
In Tulsa?
In Tulsa. Mm-hmm. I was a sergeant, and so they put me in charge of training, and the problem with that is we didn't have a wellness program at all. There was none. And I learned early on that police officers have a life expectancy of 66 years of age.
Wow.
And it hadn't changed in 50 years. And I thought, man, I can change that. Why not? So I'd always kind of been into the health aspect of things. And so I started studying on how I could help the police and how I could develop like a wellness program. And it's like, Forrest Gump, started running. I started studying and never stopped. And I still, this day, my wife and I, perpetual studiers, I'm always sort of seeking the answers to the question, why is that or why? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the question that drives us. And so that led me to continue to pursue education. And really, it's kind of I've said this before, it's a career change, but then again, it's not, because I was in the mission of serving and protecting. And I'm still in the mission of serving and protecting. And it's just expanded a little bit. And like you were sharing a little bit and getting the tour of this great facility, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. That God kind of draws out of you what you're supposed to do with the gifts that he gives you. And sometimes circumstances have to align for you to really be receptive to that call and direction.
It's true. It's true. So you end up going into medicine.
Yep.
Somewhere along the line, you meet Michelle.
My queen? Yeah.
You meet your queen.
Yeah. After the police department and being back in school as a naturopath, I took a job as a supplement educator for physicians. So I'd go around, travel around the country.
It's like the opposite of Pfizer. So
exactly.
Instead of selling drugs, you're saying, here's some really good supplements to help support.
I was selling life, man. Right. They're selling death.
No
I'm selling
kidding.
life.
Come on.
Yeah, it was, but I enjoyed that. I learned a lot about the human body and how to really support it, right? Because the body's amazing if you just give it the right stuff to do what it's supposed to do.
It's almost like it has a creator.
Yeah, imagine that.
Imagine that.
But I met her. I went on a, funny story. She just had opened up the Functional Medical Institute on her own after getting kicked out of medicine.
Yeah.
Because too many people got too well. And so I admire her for that, but she just opened it up, and she was having this class there that was called the Functional 9, and it was about kind of a Functional 9 movements. And I came. I thought, that's pretty cool.
I want to learn.
Check that out. I want to learn. But the problem is, when I met her, I had a date with me. And probably not a good time to meet your future wife, So I met her, though, and it really, you meet people in your life, and they have a lasting impact. You're like, that's a cool person. And then several months go by, and ended up going back in there on a sales call. And
with supplements.
And we talked, and I remembered that, of course. And when it got done, the meeting, I stuck my hand out because, chivalry's not dead unless you kill it.
That's true.
Man, listen to me on that,
That's
right?
Right, so important.
And so I stuck my hand out, and I said, Dr. Neal, it's great talking with you. Thanks for the time. And we shook hands, but I couldn't let go of her hand. True story. And it was like this awkward, weird moment where okay, dude, are you going to do something with this or what, man? And I'm kind of not the most outgoing guy. I'm kind of shy. So I asked her out, and she said yes. She brought a chaperone the first date, which was weird. I'll never forgive her for that. But we've never been apart since. It's been great. Love at first sight, totally.
Wow. I love that.
Yep.
I love that. So you guys work together, obviously, at the Functional Medicine Institute. And one of the things I love about you, I mean, I met you because you're running for governor.
Yes.
You're such a fascinating person because there's so many facets to you and to sort of the things that are interesting to you. Why in the world? Because you've got this really great career going. You don't need the money. You don't need the name ID. Why would you pivot and get involved in politics?
I think people are underrepresented.
No kidding.
And I think that the common person out there, there's what I've learned by observing politics, whether it be local, state, or national, there is a gap.
Boy.
You know, I think that people are the governors of the government. I don't think...
Well, we're supposed to be.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Unless you give it up.
As I looked through the Constitution, and we were traveling around the country at that time on the Reawaken America tour, and I observed that place, you know, that political, cultural landscape for the very first time on a intimate basis. I mean, I was right there. And I thought, something is wrong. And then this voice inside of me, which we know as the Lord, says, you just get out there and do this. And I'm like, no way, man. And then it was like, okay. And so we did. And then we went out there on a platform of trying to represent the people. And we traveled to every county, every corner of that state, and still worked. And we did it mostly on our own dime. I don't say people that raise money is good or bad, but we did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. And I learned so many things from people, and even myself, that I didn't know. I learned so many things from people that hated my guts for what I was standing for. But I learned that listening to them was the best thing I could ever do. I learned people that said they were Democrats, didn't know why, that were Republicans and didn't know what that meant, that were independents and didn't know why. And I was able to learn what makes people tick as just the common person, the common American. And we need to get back to that. We're like so far away from that right now. There is a chasm between the governmental leadership and the people now. The people don't feel connected anymore as a general rule.
You think that's changing under Trump?
I hope so. I hope so. But I do think that in that administration, and you know, I think there needs to be more representation of the common people of America, not just people that have a certain economic status. Because the common worker in America, like the Heidi St. Johns of the world, who has had a dream and built this, I mean, come on, this is where it's at. It should be about what's happening at the ground level.
Right.
Not what's happening in Washington.
Right.
What's happening right here in Vancouver, Washington. What's happening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is what makes America go around. It's the entrepreneurial spirit. It's the person that says, I believe this. Why not? Why can't I achieve this? And go get your dream. And I think that needs to come back. Is it changing? I don't know, but I hope so. I hope that because money, fame, and power are hard to let go of. And that's the greatest temptation, I think, you know, in the world today. You can get stuck into the power of the world, but my wife and I have really worked hard at this. Am I perfect? No. But am I working at it? 100%. That I want to be in the world but not of the world. Have a kingdom mindset in everything we do. To really try to represent people with different principles. You know, like President Trump is appointing ambassadors around the country, world, I should say. The ambassador represents the values and principles from the land in which they came. They don't get swayed by the country they're going into. Hopefully. In theoretically. But that's what we are. We're ambassadors from a land not here. And so that's what we hope to do. I learned a lot in that time, and boy, what an experience it was. I think that was when I really just thought, this guy, I need to get to know you better. Because I mean, I'm running for Congress and you're running for governor, and we learned a lot, I think, about political parties, you know, and to assume
And I think my assumption was sort of wrong going into it because I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
No.
I just assumed, well, everybody on the Republican side, these are the good guys, and everyone on the Democrat side, these are the bad guys. And I learned pretty quickly that there are bad guys on both sides of the political aisle. But what we do, hopefully, is we're trying to prop up a platform. And it seems to me that the Republicans have been kind of chipping away, even at their own platform now for a long time. I would say decades even. President Trump's talking about a golden age for America. And I mean, I think we could definitely be seeing it, in terms of the economy. And I mean, for goodness sake, what do you think about Doge? I mean, you and I haven't talked about Doge yet.
Yeah, I think it's when you look at bureaucracy and just so people understand, I mean, I think people need to understand kind of what this is. And I'll give you a practical example of bureaucracy in medicine because it's the same in government.
Boy.
So in bureaucracy, you have this centerpiece hub that gathers money. So it's a big old gatherer of money. And in this example, let's call it just big pharmaceutical-driven medicine that collects money from insurance companies, right? And then you got your money here. Well, these vendors, which become your doctors, which in the government is your department heads, they have to purchase goods and services for that particular department. But wait a minute, in bureaucracy, they can't go out here and get on Amazon or go down to the Walmart and buy anything. They don't have that approval.
Right.
They have to have approved vendors. Well, those approved vendors are sorted out by the people at the top.
So frustrating.
And so the vendors bid to supply these goods for this bureaucracy. And then when you need like a ream of paper, well, that might be $10. Even if it costs, it doesn't matter. You still can't go down and buy it for $1. You have to buy it for $10. And so that's what bureaucracy is. In medicine, you might pay $2 for a needle. Well, that's ridiculous. In government, you might pay, $100,000 for a car that costs you $50. I mean, it's that mess.
It's like getting your bill from the hospital.
Totally.
And they gave you a Tylenol and charge you $60 for it.
Totally. It's the same. That needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
And I've said this before. I don't think that people that represent people should get paid until they represent people. I mean, like, why do we have trillions of dollars of debt?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes me go, I don't want them to have my money.
No kidding. Well, it's kind
What
of
is
shocking. I mean, we're watching, what's going on with USAID and the shocking amount of money that the United States is taking from hardworking Americans through our tax dollars and sending that money overseas to promote transgenderism, to promote DEI in places like Pakistan. For goodness sake, what do you make of the Democrats who are up in arms that we're trying to rein in the out of control spending?
I think they just got, like any other human, you can get stuck in that and get addicted to that power. And it is. I mean, they go in there and they make, congressional members make just over $100,000 a year, and they end up going in there, that's all they have, and they leave, 4
multi-millionaires.
Totally. So something is wrong with the whole process. Yeah. And so I think when you start upsetting people's little individual power kingdom, they're going to push back. So I'm not surprised they're pushing back.
Think it'll stick?
I hope so. This is what I hope. This is like a political strategy I hope happens. I hope the power is pushed down eventually to the states. Yeah. And I hope the governors and the state congresses get a hold of this idea that why is, for example, the state of Washington, why are the residents paying taxes over here to Washington, D.C.? Why? Because we're making them richer while we're suffering from their mishandling of the money over here. So why are we paying money over here?
Yeah.
What would be wrong, and I'm being hypothetical here, but I'm planting seeds, if the state of Washington says, you know what, we appreciate you all, but we're keeping our money, you keep yours. And we'll just see you on the backside. Because it is not the United States of America. It never was. It should be these United States of America. So every little nation, state, has their own little flavor, which is driven by the will of the people. But that's the Constitution.
Really been overtaken.
We have.
By federalism, which you and I are both, we're not against federalism per se. I mean, we need the federal government, but the role of the federal government, according to the founding fathers, was never to be in education. It was never to be in agriculture. It was never to be in this just massive regulatory state that we have somehow created inside of the federal government. And it seems like, I mean, I'm holding my breath on this, and I know that you are too, and many, many, many other people. But it seems to me that if Elon Musk and his team, I don't care how old they are. If you find yourself a 15-year-old genius, Elon, use them, right?
Totally.
I don't care how old these guys are. We're looking for a job to be done, because the role of the federal government really should be to provide for the national defense.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm willing to have my tax dollars go for that. It's for commerce, so we have to have roads that go that will connect state to state, so interstate travel.
Yep.
I'm down, right? All this other stuff. I mean, billions. I mean, untold hundreds of billions of dollars going to things that the American people are like, wait, what? It's kind of shocking.
You're right about that. And as this government has grown, it's become so empowering over the people. And there's been such a dependence created from the people on the government.
Yeah.
And the more you create that dependence, it's the opposite of independence. The most important document we ever got is the Declaration of Independence. It said, I'm independent of that. And so you've seen that federal government growth has become more empowered.
And once it grows, it just keeps growing. I mean,
it does.
And for Trump to come in with a wrecking ball, which is really what he's doing. I mean, people are just free. I'm sorry, I'm here for it. I mean, every day I'm just like, let's go, dismantle the dumb thing. You're like, I'm about it,
I hate it for some of the people that are becoming perhaps victims in that mess, that are just unwitting participants in a bureaucracy. But in the long term, they're going to be grateful for it, because if you don't dismantle it now, you have no chance.
No.
Because it's to the point where even the dismantling process is going to be so ouch to the bones, for people. And you mentioned the Democrats are going to push back, or anybody that loves that system, and even
Trump
Republicans are going to push back.
I mean, he basically, yes, we've elected him for 4 years, but he knows he's got 2 years.
Totally.
He's got 2 years before the midterms. I mean, hopefully they're going to gain seats and not lose them, but he could lose seats in the midterm, which historically that's what happened.
Yes.
And so he knows he basically has 2 years to implement this agenda and run with it. And I mean, I'm here for it.
I think, in a weird way, I'm grateful that he's a quote unquote lame duck.
Yeah.
I really am, because he is not running for re-election.
Right.
And I'm so grateful for that.
He's going to be pedal to the metal.
Go in there and put your foot on that gas and go forward and rip the Band-Aid off. And then we can...
Yeah, because there's no time to lose.
No.
I mean, the United States is hemorrhaging money. We're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. And you can blame this on the Republicans and the Democrats.
100%.
They said for millions of years, right, we're going to get in there and we're going to balance the budget. And they never do it. And they grow the government. The Republicans do it too. They grow the size of the federal government. And every year, the American people get deeper and deeper into debt. And then they want to give us more entitlement programs, make us more dependent on the government. I mean, it's a disaster.
Well, that's where power comes from, doesn't it? Power comes from a submission from people that don't know any better.
Right.
And that's where, even from a demonic standpoint, that's kind of where we're at. God gives us power so that doesn't get power over us.
Yeah.
But when we don't know that, we become overpowered by that. And it's just like, I think that if we get a hold of it now as individual people, we got a chance. But it's still got to be about people again.
Yeah, it does. And it's going to be people. Anytime you get in, I mean, if a marriage has gone too long without there being work done on the marriage, well, then you got to get in there and pull the weeds 100%. In the garden of the marriage. And that's painful. And that takes time. We got weeds in the federal government. I mean, the way I see it is sort of like, Sleeping Beauty, and the prince comes to Sleeping Beauty and he gets up to the castle and it's just overgrown with weeds everywhere. And he takes out his sword and he's just slashing down those brambles. And I feel like that's what has to happen. So when people complain to me about how fast Trump, they're like, well, we wish he'd be more delicate. No, there's no time to be delicate. Get in there, get the work done. I'm sorry people are losing their jobs. We never should have hired him in the first place. We don't need however many hundreds of thousands of people have been on the payroll for the federal government. It's ridiculous.
It's funny. I was talking to a client who works for the Department of Defense, and it's a great family, but
working for Pete.
He told me that they wouldn't let him come to the office for the last 3 years.
They wouldn't let him come?
Well, no, just stay home.
Working from home.
Working from home. And he was in the office recently. He goes, this is the first time I've been here in 3 years. He goes, man, things have changed. He goes, but boy, I like being in the office again.
Gosh.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, why wouldn't you go to work? I don't understand.
The vast majority of people, and this isn't true for everyone, but I think the vast majority of people that work from home, they're not really working all day long. I mean, they're not.
Too many distractions.
There's too many distractions. I mean, and actually, I feel like for here, I mean, I get distracted when I'm here because there's so many. I got work to do, and people are knocking on my office door and coming in So sometimes I get more work done when I'm at home. But I think the vast majority, especially workers from the federal government, you get your rear end to work. You go to that office and you get to work, and they're not working, and Trump sees it, and so he's putting an end to it. I'm thrilled for it. I want to know what you think. You and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I want to know what you think about RFK. I'm a super fan. I mean, I'm excited. I heard this morning that he is already digging into the food supply, some of the issues with processed food in the SNAP program here in the United States, where kids are finding garbage on federal money.
Yep.
You take your food stamps and go down to the Plaid pantry and load up on, Skittles. Yep. It's kind of a huge mess. Huge mess. What's your thoughts?
I'm excited that we're having the conversation.
Yes.
About it. My wife and I have had this conversation for 20 some odd years, and nobody would listen.
Yeah, the link to food and disease.
It's terrible.
And
he's in a place right now that can generate more conversation going forward. I think it's going to do nothing but help us in tremendous ways. And I think depending on the people that listen and take it into practice, do it, it's going to help more. There's 3 things I'd like to see him be aware of. One is make sure he surrounds himself with people who are going to ask questions about everything and not be yes people. Because when you're looking at the complexities of the human body, the complexities of science, and
you mix
even
it
big
up
pharma.
With people are trying to make money. Big pharma. Come on.
You got to look at it and you got to say, okay, who wrote these studies? Who's to win? Who's to gain? And are they biased? And that takes a think tank. And I think secondly behind that, if he looks at everything and makes more transparency, like what is what and when is when about different medications and things like that, and food and ingredients therein, that's going to be a win. And then finally, education. I mean, if he can educate in that platform, put money towards education of the American people, how bad it is.
Well, that's a lot of what you've been doing on my show now for
100%.
several years. People write in and they're asking questions. And I think now, all of a sudden, I feel like we're kind of in this almost renaissance where people are reading the labels of their food.
I know. It's great. And I think that where people have gotten it wrong over the years is they've been given information from a system, the pharmaceutical medical establishment, that is one directional. It's here's your symptoms, here's your pill. Diet, it don't really matter. You got bad genes. That's just a bunch of garbage. Literally. And so at this point now,
you can't help being fat, so just it's in your genes. So
genetic.
Sorry that you're obese and you're probably going to die 25 years sooner than you should, but you can't help it. Sorry.
Our health in this nation right now, and this is a big bold statement, but it's true even by CDC standards, our health is in the worst place it's ever been in the history of mankind's existence right now. And you've got greedy people in Washington, D.C. making money off of sick people. How cruel and demented is that?
Yeah, and that is, RFK's intention, and I heard him talking about it on in an interview he did a couple of days ago, just saying, listen, we promote people who keep people sick. Not who make people well.
100%.
Or get to the root of the problem. And to that end, these conversations, thank God. We're going to have an open conversation now about vaccines.
I know.
Mark, how many times have you and I talked about vaccines over the years, and they knock me down off the internet and ding me off of social media and I've got to take my videos down off of YouTube. It's criminal that we can't have an open conversation.
You know what I think is pretty funny about that? The irony of big government, big politics, and the dishonesty in therein. Look at a guy like Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Look at that. The king of censorship, because the political powers that be shape that.
Did you think he meant it when he said, "I'm real sorry, guys"?
No.
I was like, you're such a patsy.
It's just following along with whoever you can get to.
Yeah, the wind was blowing the other direction, so Zuckerberg was like, "Oh, there goes the wind." That guy's got the moral backbone of a jellyfish.
Well, that's where people are today. They're chameleons.
Yeah.
And they'll just kind of blend into the surroundings they are. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
And so Robert F. Kennedy is not like that. He doesn't appear to be a chameleon.
No, I agree.
He has to be very cautious in how he addresses things, because he's been extremely vocal, extremely clear on things, and I'm with him on that. I think the volume of vaccines today that are pushed on people to...
How many? Do you know what the total is now?
It's probably 70. Is it more than that?
Yeah, it's more than that, I think. I mean, it's right around... That's insane.
It's terrible. But you go back, and who did that? I mean, people don't know this, but the history of this is shocking. You go, when the federal government started getting involved in health and medicine, this is back in the late 70s, early 80s, and they made this thing called the food pyramid. Remember that?
Yep.
Okay,
The
so...
standard American diet.
Standard American diet. Let's eat a bunch of mess down here that we start subsidizing. And then they also transferred vaccine liability to the government. And so when they did that...
And Reagan did that.
Reagan did that. So at that time, I mean, who knew what it was going to turn out to be? But you put a little evil in the power of mankind's hand, and we're all capable of going there, all of us. And at that moment in history, it shifted the whole health trajectory of this country. And you go back and look at pre-1980s, there was one state in the nation that had an obesity rate of greater than 10%, and that's on BMI, although it's fouled. And you go past the 80s and go forward. Once that happened with the Food Pyramid and the Vaccine Liability Act, you had every state in the nation go above 10% except one. And now we've got states that are 50 or 60%. My home state, obese.
That's crazy.
And this is a crisis. This is a worse crisis than the fentanyl cartel, China. This is the crisis that's going to kill this country.
Because you can go down to your local supermarket and basically get the drug that's going to ultimately kill you. I mean, people are ingesting seed oils. You and I talked a little bit about seed oils several months ago. And I think it's worth repeating what you said. Because we thought, seed oils is great. Sunflower oil, this is great. What's wrong with that, right? Canola oil, it sounds really good. Why are people like RFK so up in arms about seed oils?
They are not natural oils. Natural oils might be...
It's crazy because they use the word seed.
Well, they do.
What could possibly be more natural than that? They don't say petroleum.
No, they don't
say
that
seed oil.
You can run a tractor off corn oil. You know, you can.
Crazy.
So we're talking about putting things in our body that are going to just destroy our cells. And so these seed oils are burned. So you think about it. If you and Jay put a piece of meat on the grill and left it too long, it's going to get small and charred. And there's problems with that. So we're getting these charred, burned oils and putting them in our bodies, and they're doing the same thing to our cells. A statistic recently that my wife and I saw that now the average American is consuming of their current intake of food, 32% of that was seed oils every day. 32%.
That's crazy.
And
they're in everything.
But it's processed foods, and our government did that because they're trying to cheapen what you can have to make you believe that they're trying to help you. We don't live on calories. We live on nutrients. And I've communicated that in every way, shape, or form possible. And it's like really interesting on how the culture has shifted now with RFK there to maybe have a different perspective of things.
So when you talk about the standard American diet and the food pyramid, I mean, I grew up, in grade school, and they came in and gave us the food pyramid. I mean, come on, Mark, I colored my food pyramid, okay?
I did too.
I colored it, and mine was the best, and they put mine on the wall, okay? I got mine on the blackboard. I bet y'all didn't get that. Yours up on the blackboard.
Quite a badge of honor.
Thank you so much. And I remembered it.
Yeah.
I remembered these are the things that are at the base of the pyramid. It was the grains, and it was the, Lucky Charms, which now is better for you than steak and eggs and all this stuff. And your contention, and I think you're right, and we're seeing this bear out now, and finally people are talking about it, is that pyramid's actually upside down.
It is. We were told at the same time frame that cholesterol is bad. And that was a flawed, biased study. And historically, people can go back, and I think this was under, I'll think of the name in a minute, but in the Congress, they took a box from Sweden that had they thought, well, let's figure out how we can make this box where people go to the grocery store and come up with their own little box that people can buy X numbers of this and this to kind of guide the food selections of American public, right? McGovern was who was there, by the way. And so they took that box and they translated it into the food pyramid because of the lobbyists that went on. And so you saw big ag come in there, and you had to make this 6 to 11 servings of grains and breads. And as just a little spiritual twist here that's fascinating to me that I think people find just amazing is that you go back and look at history in Egypt. They had the pyramids, and they were storing what? Grain. God's people were in poverty. They were in bondage. That's been repeated today. God's people are in bondage and poverty because of this. They're getting stuck in that rut and they can't get out. And so that changed everything in our world, and it was upside down. Fats have never been bad. Cholesterol's never been bad. And we're still trying to go back.
Your brain needs cholesterol to function.
We have to have it.
Yeah. Kind of amazing. I heard this morning, I don't know if you heard this announcement, and I was like, I'm going to ask Dr. Mark about that. So, RFK is going to get in there and start basically requiring restaurants to change what they're cooking with. They're going to try to get, root out the seed oils and replace them with, beef tallow and things like that. And I heard Steak and Shake come out this morning and said, we're not making our fries anymore with whatever oil it is. We're going to change to beef tallow. Good or bad?
Well, I think it's good because they're changing, but then you got to ask yourself, why now? Are you doing it now because somebody's in charge? What's going to happen in 4 or 5 years if they appoint somebody else in that position? I mean, it's like,
maybe in the meantime you could educate people.
Yeah, just
what do you say though? I guess my question is, when Steak and Shake, and I'm sure McDonald's, will follow suit. It's interesting to see, we have all these dyes in our food, but then you go to Europe and they don't have them. No. Like our wheat supply in the United States is just absolute garbage. But then you go over to, Italy. Yeah. My daughter's in Italy, and, she has a gluten sensitivity. She could eat whatever she wanted when she was over there. You come back here and the food makes you sick. And I'm wondering, when you Steak and Shake and McDonald's and whoever else says, okay, now we're going to do our fries in beef tallow. Are fries are they good for you if you fry them in beef tallow?
Well, I think
is this health food, Dr. Mark?
It's not, and here's why. Because you look at the fries. Where do they come from? That's potatoes. Okay, potatoes are the most readily consumed vegetable in the United States of America.
I mean, I do like my mashed potatoes.
They're good, but you've got to think about where do they come from and what chemicals have been used to create those things. Just as an FYI, people need to know that potatoes should not be the size of a football.
So Costco's potatoes.
So these little potatoes that are about this size you get from your backyard that grow, and you say, why isn't it growing big? Folks, that's normal size. Okay. This big old stuff, they have to go in with a lot of these potato farms and off-gas those things with personal protective gear. These are dangerous.
That is
so you're talking about, taking that food and saying, okay, well, we're going to use beef tallow now. Great. It's still a poisonous substance that you've covered with something that's not quite as poison. And that's what that boils down to.
That's so depressing.
Well,
you're bringing me down.
No, I'm trying to it's education. Remember that.
All right, you're bringing me down.
Faithful are the wounds of friends, right?
Faithful are the wounds of my friend Mark Sherwood. Well, I think we're going to see the conversation change. I'm encouraged because now we're talking about autism, the rates of autism. I heard RFK talking about that today.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on when we've got, when I was growing up, I didn't know anybody with autism. No. Did you? I didn't know anybody with a peanut allergy. And all of a sudden we got peanut allergies, we got gluten, sensitivities, we got all kinds of issues. And it seems to me that happened right about after, within 10 years or so after we created the food pyramid and started spraying all of our food with glyphosate.
Yep. Roundup, which contains glyphosate and atrazine, is used in all those things at the bottom of that pyramid. So think about this. If the government subsidizes things like corn, wheat, soy, grains, dairy.
All the things that we see in those big giant fields when we go through the heartland.
That's it. And they're all sprayed with poisonous chemicals. And then you look at autism, 40 years ago, 1 in 40,000. Today it's about 1 in 30.
It's crazy.
By 2050, 1 in 2. Right. And we're seeing it. My wife and I see this all the time. There's I'm not knocking anybody. This is what we observed. With the autism spectrum, it's a spectrum. So there's let's say 0 to 100. Mm-hmm. Wherever a person is on that spectrum, there's going to be some challenges. But the more they are on the spectrum, the higher they are, the more challenges they have of being able to just carry on a job, a life, et cetera, and not become where they're just a dependent person on a family. But what happened is you had the vaccines, of course, those are triggers to inflammation, right? And then you had the food pyramid, which is a creator of inflammation on our terrain, right? So now you have a human body that's very inflamed. You put more inflammatory causing things on there. And then the third component of the autism development trend is going to be the idea of methylation. A lot of people don't look at that. So methylation is the process of starting and stopping genetic development in utero, right? And so the methylation process is disturbed in utero from mama to child. So therefore, the child gets the brunt of that. So that's why this is going to be birthed going down the line. The only way to change this thing right now is individual people right now need to draw the line in the sand. Not to say, well, I'm going to feed my kid well while I'm not eating well. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to change right now. Look yourself in the mirror and say, it starts with me. Because this is a trend that I don't think medicine's going to stop this trend. And I don't think just RFK is going to stop this trend.
It's going to take, it took us generations to get here.
Yeah.
It's going to take us generations to get out.
Yeah, we're on a trajectory right now. It's going to be like, if it's going this way right now, you can't just stop that. It's still going to go that way. But can you slow the process and over the time reverse it? Probably yes.
So the person who's listening to this and they're like, okay, I believe you. Thanks for bringing us down. I believe you. What do I do? What are some little, because you and I both know, the way that you develop a habit is by one small step at a time, right? These small changes that we make that over time become actual big changes. And I know, because I think this is true in my own life, if you give me something that's too big for me to handle, I'm not going to do it at all.
Right.
Because I'm going to feel defeated right out of the gate. And it's the same with exercise, right? So I started back in an exercise routine, just doing just a few minutes every day. And then I start to feel better. So we add a few more minutes to it. Where can people start if they recognize, oh, hey, what Heidi and Mark are saying is actually true, and I need to take responsibility? Where do we start?
Well, you got to start one day at a time. I tell people, let go of the past, let go of the shame. Stop that, because the past can't be changed. You can learn from it. So let's say you had the realization today that, gosh, I've been blowing this for a long time. Okay, great. Now learn from it. What do you do? You start off at one decision at a time, one meal. It's like a little baby learning to walk. It's one step. You might fall over, but plan on getting back up again. Set your expectation out here to a place this is a hard conversation, but it's right. Set your expectation at excellence. Don't settle for average. Average is the enemy of excellence. And so we've got to set the excellence out there. Don't live 80%. Don't say, well, because you're setting the tone for average for your child.
Yep.
There's not a coach out here that's going to coach a team and say, hey, give 80%, because that coach will get fired. We all want our children to be pushed in certain areas except for this. But I always tell people, take it one meal at a time. With exercise, you're not going to go from 0 to 100 like that. Just start off at 5 minutes a day. Put your tennis shoes on and walk around the block. Start off with doing just a couple deep knee bends, maybe a plank, maybe push-ups against the wall or the counter, and do those every single day. With nutrition, one meal a day. Nail it every day, one. And with the sleep.
Maybe instead of, maybe you swap out the meat you're eating for a good meat. Maybe you start making salmon in your oven, or you start just doing something that you know is going to be good for you and simple. It seems to me that a lot of the simple foods are the ones that are the best for you. The simple, they're not, doused in all kinds of sauces. Although I have to say, I do like my sauces.
You can have some good sauces that actually taste good. Yeah.
I know. I've got a couple of my kids who are gluten-free, and one of them is gluten-free and dairy-free. And recently I've, been more taking your advice, and frankly, Melissa's been telling me this for years, is to get off of gluten. It is amazing when I cut back on gluten, how much better I feel, like how much better my joints feel. It is
big time.
It's crazy.
Gluten's bad. And people need to know that gluten is a normal protein. It's not something that God didn't make.
To it?
Well, it got stuck in the idea of increased infiltration into our food supply to create profit. So you think about gluten. What does it do? It causes stickiness. It causes volume.
Yeah.
So you take maybe a loaf of bread that was created back in the 70s. It may have been this size. I'm just kind of showing you this. But you add a bunch of gluten, it makes it this size. Same amount of money.
So we've overwhelmed our system.
Totally. It's too much. And so we don't have a lot of celiac disease type people that are actually gluten intolerant.
Right.
Maybe 2 to 4%, perhaps at most. But we have about 50 to 60% of people that are sensitive.
Sensitive, yeah.
Because we get it all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that, coupled with the idea that our genetics have changed 2% in 10,000 years. So we were hunter-gatherers for so long, and guess what wasn't ripe all the time? So we need to kind of get back to the idea of seasonal eating, and in America we're blessed to have anything we want anytime we want.
Yeah.
And so it's become sort of it's a blessing and a curse, isn't it?
Yeah. And you've said, lots of times over the years on my show, telling people, hey, shop the perimeter of your grocery store if you can. Stay where the fresh foods are, because the deeper into the store you go, the more processed the food becomes.
Yeah. The only time to go inside the store is if you're going to get some toilet paper. Otherwise, stay on the outside because it's dangerous inside. At those end caps, they're full of these processed foods that have a big old sign there that says, buy two, get one free, or 30% off today. It is literally poison. But people need to know this from the point of making changes.
Yeah.
There are great foods out there, even in Walmart.
Yeah.
You just stay on the perimeter. You have to look, learn, read the labels. Yeah. You're not going to have problems getting good foods today. It's out there.
It is out there.
You just I always say this, pre-RFK, you still could choose a salad or a cheeseburger. Post-RFK, you're still going to be able to choose a salad or a cheeseburger. Now, will the ratio change? I hope.
I hope so.
That's on people's choice list.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, when we start making those healthy choices, it's one little choice at a time makes a big difference. Seems to me that we're struggling in this country with inflammation. Inflammation is a massive killer in the culture today. Talk to us a little bit about that and what we can do about it. And also, I'm going to put my little, so everybody knows I love this hydrogen bottle, and I've been using this for over a year.
Yep.
But we'll turn it on, and I wondered. So the little timer comes on, and you can see the bubbles start to go in here.
Yep.
So it's going to be about 5 minutes. Actually, I'm going to put it on 10 minutes because we're going to be talking. So we'll put it on 10 minutes, and now there are hydrogen bottles for people who are watching hydrogen bubbles. Tell us a little bit about this and why it's so good for inflammation. So
you mentioned inflammation. Chronic systemic inflammation, Heidi, is a key component of every disease process. Inflammation that goes out and fights a virus or fights something trying to attack you. It's just acute, in and out is fine. You need to have that. That's important. But when it becomes systemic, it's always elevated. It's like your fire department's overwhelmed.
Right.
This is key. And this is, obviously, you want to avoid the bombardment coming in. But if you want a nice little trick to help yourself out, every human being needs this. I'm bold about that. These little molecules coming up here are hydrogen gas. The gas is being generated right down here in this electrolysis machine, which is made of titanium, by the way. So there's no heavy metals coming up into here. Once this light goes off, this water is saturated to the point of 5 parts per million. I know that doesn't mean much, but it's a lot with this hydrogen gas. It doesn't become H3O. It's still H2 plus H2O. So it becomes a carrier. When you drink that, the molecular size of hydrogen is so small, it gets down inside of every cell of the body.
It passes the blood-brain barrier?
Passes blood-brain barrier, passes the mitochondria barrier. So it gets inside every cell. Hydrogen has one job: selectively take every free radical excess, and it binds to it and turns it into water, which reduces cellular inflammation. So you're talking about a way to supercharge your water to reduce the inflammation systemically and probably mitigate a lot of disease processes right there.
It's like, so how often do you recommend that people do? So I've kind of gotten into the habit of, that's the first thing I do in the morning. Is just drink hydrogen water. And I'll probably drink, 2 or 3 bottles of this in the morning, and I'll do it while I'm exercising. But how often do you recommend?
The beauty of this is all the studies that I've looked at, and there's about 1,200 papers out there right now, a lot. Not in America, by the way, go figure. Right. But this is about 8 ounces. So if you can get 24 ounces a day or more, that's kind of where the studies have sort of settled. More is probably better. More might be even a lot better. We don't know. But the bottom line is there's no negatives to that. I was telling you even before he came on today that my wife and I have started to, we got a machine in our office now that produces hydrogen gas, and we put a little cannula, breathe it up our nose while we're sitting there working. And we're finding that, talk about a brain supercharged and a body supercharged. I don't know of anything out there right now that has that efficacy, that's that easy, that's that affordable for every human being. And everybody needs that. And if you want to, if you're an athlete, that's recovery. If anybody, just health, it's good.
Does it, so we're putting hydrogen into this water right now.
Yes.
And if when the timer goes off, I forget about it, does the hydrogen dissipate and then you have to charge it again?
It does not. As long as this top is sealed. This will keep here probably 12 hours.
Okay.
But once you unscrew the top, you'll hear a pressure in it.
Yeah.
It'll kind of pop, and you might see some gas come off of that just a little bit. But you probably got 20 minutes to drink it before it dissipates.
So you do need to drink it pretty quick.
Pretty quick, because it's not as slow as maybe the carbonation that's in some of the beverages. You know how that will sift out of there in an open cap, right? But it's a little bit faster than that. You don't get the carbonation flavor with that. People ask that all the time.
I know it really doesn't change it doesn't change the
Not at all.
the flavor or the feel of the water at all. Lots
No.
of people have asked me that, but I think it's an interesting, an easy thing to add. You said you and Dr. Michelle, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. That you have a hydrogen gas that you deliver in a cannula, but
Yes.
then also hydrogen water. You said another thing you said that I thought, oh, I'm doing that too, is you're sitting in front of a red light.
Yes.
So we've talked about red light therapy. I am a super fan
It's awesome.
of red light therapy. Why should people be looking into red light therapy?
Well, as a red light penetrates, deeper than the skin level, you're talking about a reduction in free radicals in that place too. So it's all about reducing. So the aging process or the breakdown of the body is pretty simple to understand. In a complex process, it's still simple to understand. It is a buildup of waste products and a decrease of the ability to clean them up and repair things. That's what it is. And we know as we age, the debris products go up and the repair processes go down. Well, how do we age properly? I'm using those words intentionally. You reduce the amount of excessive waste products you can build up in the system by doing things like red light therapy, like hydrogen therapy and other things like that. And then you improve everything you can with repair processes by feeding your body what it needs to do what it does. It's not that hard. I think we probably set our expectation level probably too low.
I agree. I have a panel light that I sit in front of in the morning, and I usually do that when I'm, I'll have it like behind me so that I can read my Bible or kind of, meditate or pray or whatever while I'm doing it. I noticed pretty quickly within a few days that I wasn't as sore.
Totally.
And it's just kind of an amazing, what is the difference between, people are going to go to Amazon and there is 4 billion red lights on there now. What's the difference between like a far infrared and a near infrared? So the panel I got, you can do both.
Yeah.
You could choose the far infrared or you can do near infrared, which requires glasses, right? If you're going to sit in front of it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, obviously the near infrared is going to penetrate less than the far infrared. So you're talking about a depth of penetration in the body. I mean, we have a sauna. We've talked about saunas before, and on a daily basis, we'll get there and sit there, and it's got far, near, and medium, and it has going all at the same time.
Why do you have to wear the glasses with the near?
Well, because it can hurt your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, clearly. So it's like looking at the noonday sun. I mean, sunshine's good, but don't stare at it.
And what's the difference in penetration? So near infrared.
Yeah.
Explain again.
So if this is your skin level, the epidermis, right? So it's going to go in there a little bit, and the deeper you have, the farther infrared you have, it's going to go deeper inside. So think about penetration levels in the body. And so we're big fans of all of it.
Yeah.
Use it all.
Use it all.
I mean, but if all you got's a panel there that just does near infrared, fine.
You know what I
Do
should
it
have
anyway.
brought? You know what I got? Oh, let's see if Dr. Michelle, she's sitting there. I got a red light mask.
Oh man! So you look like Jason now, right?
Oh my goodness! So it's on my phone. I will
wow.
show. Listen,
You gotta take a picture
When we're
of that.
having lunch, I will send
Okay.
you. My dog, little Finley, I have a little mini golden doodle. He came in the other day, and I was sitting on my bed, and I had my my red light mask on, and
no.
he started barking at me, freaking out. He basically was just like, "Oh no, there's a
intruder.
killer in the room!" Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty scary. But I
is.
started doing my homework on this stuff. It's actually really good for your skin.
100% it is.
And there's a flash that you can put it in flash mode. Have you guys looked at that?
We haven't looked at the flash mode. We looked at those things, and I thought, man, should I get that for my wife?
You
And I thought,
should.
I don't know, man.
Michelle, I'm telling you, I love that thing.
Yeah.
So I only do it like every other day for maybe 15 minutes in the evening before I go to bed. But I have actually noticed a change in my skin, and I've been doing Kingdom Skin for a long time, which we can talk about in a second. That is the number. It's so dumb and so superficial, but one of the number one questions I get from people when they watch videos or they see me on the road is, "What are you doing with your skin?" Because I'll be 55 in a week.
Come on.
And
Still a young thing.
young thing, and And I've noticed, there are lots of things we can do to take care of our skin, but I'm telling you, I'm going to show you that mask.
Yeah.
It is something.
People, I think I've learned this over time.
You could do the cannula with the mask.
You can.
Well, that'd be real scary. Sit there with
gosh.
You're going to look like something out of Dune.
Can you imagine she put that on and I wake up, whoa! People they want to criticize people that do things for their face.
Yeah.
They do. And so I'll just tell you, you do it because you should.
Yeah.
And here's why you should. Because if you feel younger, because you think you look younger, that gives you more confidence to do what you do. And I read a story about this dude named Caleb, who happened to be 85 years of age. He was still like threatening to climb the mountain and go fight. And this guy named Moses, who lived 120 years and did lose his strength or eyesight. So it tells me that being younger, longer, is part of our purpose. So I think people should think, man, anything I can do to help myself with that, you should.
Yeah, and you've talked about peptides and sort of the magic of a peptide. Talk to us a little. So you brought this for my girl Melissa.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about this Kingdom Skin. What's in it? Why is it good for you?
Well, that's going to be the best peptide cream for the face, I believe, on planet Earth. Here's why. It's going to beat all the Hollywood creams because it has two natural peptides. One's called GHK copper.
Yeah.
And one is called BPC 157. Yeah, some would call it, that's the GHK that it's kind of Smurf cream. Your skin doesn't turn blue, by the way.
Smurf cream.
Right.
Who doesn't want to look like a Smurf?
What it does is fascinating. So your skin has multiple layers, right?
Yeah.
On the outside layer, the epidermis, but in between that, you have these collagen factors. And so why do we have wrinkles? What was it, the outside?
Collagen stops getting produced,
Collagen
right?
stops. It drops, right?
Yeah.
And so what that cream does, it infills the generation of new collagen under the skin to tighten it back up again. And it also repairs DNA damage at the skin level.
Come on.
It does both. And that's a combination cream that we made.
It's beautiful. And I just put it on my skin. It's not blue. It's great.
No.
This is fabulous stuff.
It's
All right.
good stuff.
This has gone off now. So for 10 minutes, almost, we've been infusing this water with hydrogen. So watch this.
That's it.
There you go. And you can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear it. And obviously, this is what I shall be
There
drinking.
you see a little gas come off of that.
I
Pretty
see
neat.
that.
Yeah.
So kind of amazing. I had a lady write in. And she said, Heidi, when you and Mark open up your hydrogen bottles, could you please move them away from the microphone because we hear them? And I was like, no, that's the point.
That's it. I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, she didn't like that. She said, move them away from the microphone. I said, no, we were trying to make a point. We want you guys to hear. Yeah, we want you to hear this. This is pressurized, and we've just infused it with hydrogen, and it's really good for you. And these are some of the little things that people can do. Red light therapy, hydrogen
they're not
water.
expensive.
No, and you can get hydrogen packets, right? And do hydrogen bath.
You can.
That's good for you too, right?
Yeah, I think the idea of hydrogen therapy, molecular hydrogen, is going to continue to develop. This is last year. I was even talking at the NFL Combine about those players, that are hitting their heads all the time. They should be doing, instead of oxygen on the sideline, they should be doing hydrogen. 100%. They were
Really?
like looking at me like I was from Mars. And I said, when you had the ice baths afterwards, hydrogen should be there. When they sit in the steam room, hydrogen should be there. And again, I think it's going to be a coming thing in the future.
Wow.
And by the way, this is an interesting bottle because we have to import these things because you don't just want to get one randomly off of internet searching because you might not get one that's been individually tested for heavy metals, as I spoke of. And you might not get one that has the pressurization component of it, giving you the right percentage of saturation on that.
So this is just a great tool.
It's the best
for people that are looking to fight inflammation. And really, you're supercharging your water. I mean, you're getting the most out of your water.
Yes.
That you can get, and I think so important. And I know that as we start talking more about this, I mean, I am so encouraged. You and I have been talking about health-related issues for several years here at the show. I am really excited to see the country start talking about it. I mean, the countries. I saw a really funny, like a meme went through my social media somewhere, and it was just like person opened a bag of chips, and someone had put a big, like a picture of RFK in there. Open the chips, and he's like,
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Instead of Uncle Sam, it's him pointing
Yeah,
at
exactly.
you.
We should get pictures of Dr. Mark Sherwood, right?
I think, man.
Open up the food that you don't like, and Mark's like, oh, no.
No.
But it doesn't mean, and I was thinking, there are companies now that are making easy to go, on the go snacks that you can have that are better for you.
Yep.
And I think just looking to change those, I have a whole little basket of things I take on airplanes with me, because the food they give you on the airplane is typically not great.
It's
typically not good. But there are lots of different things that people can do. And I think what I love about you and what you and Dr. Michelle are doing is you're not just helping people to feel better, you're helping them change their lives, and so they can feel better longer. It really is. You guys really are a deal in hope over there.
Well, I wear these little bracelets, see? And I got you one here.
You got me one.
Hope dealer.
Oh,
Hope dealer. Right?
I love this.
So it's got a little scripture on the inside there.
This is Isaiah.
Yep,
Isaiah 40:31.
When you get down to it, we are trying to give people hope, because the greatest distractions one has in life are death, disease, sickness, and lack. And if we can think about it, if we're not thinking about those things, we're thinking about living.
Yeah.
And we're seeing in America a trend that's disturbing: increasing sick span and decreasing health span. We got to flip that around.
Yeah.
And I'm one to think that, and it's interesting, since the RFK thing, we do have people reach out to us now and have this conversation more often. And it's good to say they want to know, how can we, now we're ready, how can we embrace what you guys are teaching? And so we've been able to keep on studying and really develop a lot of innovative strategies to mitigate the inflammatory process on the cell level and maximize a person's ability to live.
So good. When a lot of people never heard of the term integrated medicine, functional medicine. Tell us what those are.
Well, when I look at functional medicine, it's different than conventional or what we call mainstream medicine. Mainstream medicine is, here's your symptoms.
We don't like the mainstream medicine like we don't like the mainstream media.
This is like mainstream education too,
right? Yes.
Mainstream medicine is symptoms and here's your pill. It never addresses the reason for the symptoms. And so addressing the reason for the symptoms, you got to go back upstream and go, what caused that? And if something caused that, what if you could fix the cause? What if you could restore something that's dysfunctional and make it functional? And that's what we do. And in our world, we take that to a whole new level, because I look at it here, I want to bring healing into this area up here. If you heal something, you restore it to its original workmanship and the way it's supposed to be operating. When you do that, you don't have symptoms, and then you're not thinking about and talking about diseases. They become irrelevant. And so if we think about it, can we create a society like that? I think so.
I think so.
I think we can. We just got to get that belief level up there again.
Yeah. And it's going to be a group effort. I think it's going to be a national effort. When I was a kid, and maybe you'll remember this too, they had the Presidential Fitness Award. Do you remember that?
I do. And
For goodness sake.
Just awesome.
And everybody wanted it. And, we were kind of geared toward it at our little Christian school. And everybody could earn it. It wasn't just for one person. You could all earn it if you reached a certain level. And the country was focused on that, focused on health. And I think you're right. I think we can get there again. It needs to become part of the national psyche, part of our national conversation. And I think it can happen.
It hasn't been that long ago. And the irony of this is Robert F. Kennedy is obviously kin to John F. Kennedy. And people go look this up. John F. Kennedy put one of the best videos out there about the fitness of America. People can look it up. Just John F. Kennedy fitness video. He talked about instilling that in the values of America so that we could have good fighters in the military, so that we could have good fitness, so we wouldn't be sick, so we could be good earning capacity, and wouldn't be distracted by the disease model. The irony is that thing's flipped back around again. Here, it hadn't been long ago. You're talking about 60 years later, and here he is, a relative of this. That's the first conversation we've had since then about the same subject.
Isn't that crazy? I saw Trump get the transgenders out of the military. Mental illness from sun up to sundown. Literally crazy. Literally crazy. Common sense is returning to the United States, and really eating good food is just common sense.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
We just don't need to go down the path. We've repeated these phrases, and you know this from a biblical perspective. If what you say happens. If you repeat something,
your words have power.
They do. And so I don't really allow people in my presence repeatedly to say, I can't, I won't, I am, whatever, unless it fits what we're trying to do. It's not hard to eat healthy. It's not hard to be fit. It's not hard to find things that make you healthy. It's not hard at all, because I look at it in a real straight up way. If we believe God made us, then surely we believe the same God can give things to help us thrive. So it's not a reach. It is basic common sense stuff. It doesn't sell a lot of tickets, but it's right. Yeah. And we're going to stay with that right as long as we're alive, for sure.
Yeah, so good. Dr. Mark Sherwood, I've told you 100 times. If I've told you once, you are a national treasure. This is such a treat for me to have you here in the studio and to be able to partner with the Functional Medicine Institute and have you guys now be the major sponsor of our show.
We're honored, man.
Really excited to be working with you. This is a passion of mine, and I know a passion of yours, so really it's just a match made in heaven. You guys have a new website, which you want to direct people to, Homeschool Health.
Homeschoolhealth.com.
That's it. Homeschoolhealth.com. And you guys can go there. We're going to be putting, because we get requests all the time, tell us about the copper, the cream that you're using on your face. Tell us about Kingdom Skin. Tell us about all the things, Kingdom Fuel, all that stuff. You guys can find it there. Homeschoolhealth.com, and you'll be able to find these bottles as well. Such a joy to have you here and have Michelle here, and I can't wait to see what God's going to do with you guys, especially now in this kind of golden age where we're actually talking about health again in a way that's going to make a difference.
We're grateful for you and grateful to be a part of what you got going. Great to see your facility here, and I'm telling you, this is an amazing place, and if any of the listeners get a chance to come here and visit, you need to. You'll be blown away like we were.
Thank you. Well, we're glad you're here, and can't wait to see what happens as we're carrying the conversation. Thanks for being with me today.
You're welcome.
You guys, I hope you've been as encouraged by this conversation as I have been. We want to encourage you to go to homeschoolhealth.com. You can find out more about the things that we've been talking about today and get more information on Drs. Mark and Michelle. What they are doing over there really is extraordinary, and it's been a tremendous blessing to me, and I know it has been to many of you who are listening to the show. So take care of your health, you guys. It's up to you to take care of it, and you can do it, and the Lord of Heaven's armies is going to help you. Thank you guys so much for listening today. Love your people well today. And you can love them well by feeding them some good food. So get out there, take care of yourselves, and I will see you right back here again at the intersection of faith and culture.